Today, I'm going to share my top tips on how to be a creative thinker so you can generate solutions to challenges more easily and establish yourself as an expert in your field. Hi, and welcome back to another segment of Triple T, where I reveal my top tips to help you excel at work and reach your highest potential. I'm Allie, and today I'm going to conclude this 4-part series on how to build your expertise by sharing my top tips on how to be a creative thinker at work. These tips will not only help you conquer difficult situations, but make you feel more satisfied and confident about your skills and contributions to your company. If creative thinking is something you've tried improving on in the past, then make sure to share what has and hasn't worked for you. I always love reading about your personal experiences and know you have some great things to share, so make sure you let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and grab a drink, and we'll get started. Creative thinkers are people who can think outside the box. These individuals are uninhibited by tradition and love to consider alternative ways to tackle a challenge. It probably comes as no surprise to you then that these people are in high demand in today's job market for their eccentric approach. In fact, IBM interviewed more than 1,500 leaders across 60 nations and 33 industries and found that 60% of leaders agreed that creativity is the most important leadership quality. And it makes sense. Creative thinking skills are not only a surefire way to increase revenue and productivity, but are an absolute must for adapting and creating new solutions in a fast-paced work environment. The problem is that not everyone is lucky enough to be naturally inclined to think creatively on the fly. But guess what? That doesn't mean you can't develop your creative thinking skills. In fact, there are several easy things you can do to improve your creative thinking skills right now. So if you're ready to embrace a fresh, new approach to your work and be viewed as an invaluable asset to your company, then here are my top tips for improving your creative thinking skills. Tip number 1, you need to have an open mind. This goes without saying, but to be a creative thinker, you have to have an open mind. You need to let go of any and all preconceived notions you have and allow the impossible be possible. This is going to make it easier for ideas to flow and easier for you to understand how these ideas fit into the bigger picture. So if you catch yourself saying things like, "Oh, that's impossible," or "there's no way," or stop an idea in its tracks because you already see a flaw or impossibility about it, then remind yourself that you need to be open-minded and let the idea play out. Do this, and you're on your way to being more open and, in turn, a better creative thinker. Tip number 2, you need to embrace fear of failure. One of the main reasons why it's difficult for you to develop your creative thinking skills is probably because you have a fear of failure. Fear of failure has this annoying way of stopping you in your tracks when you need to take action the most. And why? Because you don't like making mistakes. Mistakes are bad. Mistakes are embarrassing. Mistakes mean you did something wrong. But here's the thing. Every time you make a mistake, every time you fail, you learn. You discover flaws and loopholes that you wouldn't have seen otherwise and make changes to create an even stronger solution. You see, mistakes aren't the enemy. Mistakes are your best friends in disguise. So stop being so harsh on yourself. You're only human. Not every idea is going to be a home run. When it comes to creative thinking, mistakes and failure are a necessary part of the process for developing your ideas and seeing the bigger picture. So if your goal is to become a creative thinker, then you need to embrace your fear of failure. Tip number 3, think and then think again. Creative thinkers are people who are open to new possibilities and welcome the opportunity to experiment. They're constantly churning out new ideas, scrutinizing them, and then churning out some more. This is because creative thinkers realize that genius ideas are 1 in a million. You're going to have more bad ideas than good. So if you want to find that one golden moment, that eureka moment, you need to stop focusing on quality and instead focus on quantity. Pull out your notepad and let the ideas flow. When you feel like you've written enough, take a break and guess what? Do it again later. Your objective is to get as many ideas out there as you can. So expect that most of them will be crap. And in moments where you feel you've hit a dead end, just remember this. With each bad idea you have, you're one idea closer to having that great idea. So if your goal is to improve your creative thinking skills, then you need to constantly generate ideas. Tip number 4, think first, act later. When you're in a fast-paced work environment, it's easy to feel constrained by time. You need to come up with a great idea that will blow your boss out of the water, and you need to come up with it now. The problem is that creative thinking doesn't work that way. Your first round of ideas are going to be your worst, so you need to let your ideas marinate before committing and, dare I say it, procrastinate. Yeah, you heard me. This is one of the few times where procrastination actually comes in handy. Procrastination gives you a chance to mull over an idea and mentally revise it before implementing it. In addition, holding things off to the last minute allows you to open yourself to a field of possibilities because you haven't committed to an idea yet. Don't believe me? Well, heard of Mozart? He wrote one of his most famous pieces, Don Giovanni, the night before it premiered. How about Leonardo da Vinci? Several of his most famous works took over a decade to complete. In fact, there were times where patrons had to threaten him just so he could finish one of his pieces. So the bottom line is that the best ideas take time. Don't rush the process. Start to think about an idea early, but wait as long as possible before implementing that idea. Tip number 5, break the rules. One of the reasons why you're struggling to think creatively is because you're too comfortable with what you know and the rules set in place. Rules and traditions are meant to set a standard and prevent extreme deviation from the norm. The problem is that these rules and traditions over time can stunt growth and prohibit creativity. If you're going to be a creative thinker, then you need to be willing to get your hands dirty and break the rules of your field. So give yourself permission to consider any and all ideas you have, regardless of if it's allowed or not. Or even better, write down everything you can't do, and for each point, ask yourself what you would do if this rule wasn't in place. These are great ways to free yourself from the constraints of rules, as well as greatly improve your creative thinking skills. Tip number 6, you need to be a blender. Despite what you might think, creative thinking isn't about coming up with the next novel idea. In fact, many ideas we consider novel are actually concepts that were blended together from different disciplines. A great example of this is Queen. Queen is a British rock band who really wanted to create their own identity and set themselves apart from other bands. So what did they do? They combined their backgrounds in classical music and rock, and well, the rest is history. They were able to solidify their status as one of the greatest bands of all time, and all of this was because they decided to combine two different genres. So if you want to improve your creative thinking skills, branch into other disciplines and apply concepts and techniques learned from those other fields. Tip number 7, you need to get moving. Look, it's difficult coming up with new exciting ideas when you're sitting at your desk all day. So make it a habit to move around and get your blood pumping. Take a walk outside or to a nearby coffee shop. Even better, take a walk through the park. You'd be surprised how often we're inspired by everyday occurrences. In fact, we wouldn't be able to fly right now if the Wright brothers hadn't gone outside to observe birds take flight on a daily basis. So get moving. This will not only give your mind a much needed rest, but expose you to several opportunities to learn from the environment around you. And there you have it, my top tips on how to be a creative thinker. Apply these tips to your particular situation, and you're going to see changes in how you approach problems and explore new ideas. If one of the reasons why you want to develop your creative thinking skills is to build your expertise, then I highly suggest you watch this Triple T video right here, where I share my top tips on how to develop your knowledge and skills for your expertise. If you enjoyed watching this video, then make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It helps me get my videos out there and lets you know when I release new content. Otherwise, it's been fun having you today. Until we drink again, take it easy. Bye. This is a pie that's filled with yuzu cream. So if you don't know what yuzu is a citrus flavor that's pretty much a cross between a lemon and an orange. In fact, if you get fresh squeezed orange juice, just sprinkle a little bit of lemon juice on top and it's pretty much what yuzu tastes like.